Voters in Idaho will head to the polls next Tuesday, May 15th. As part of our Local Matters series, we're taking a closer look at races across the country. Members of both parties will choose their nominees for governor. The state's current governor, Butch Otter, has announced he will not seek re-election. Bryan Clark is a government reporter for the Post-Register. He joins me now from Idaho Falls. All right, Bryan, let's start with the governor race. As we mentioned, Governor Butch Otter is not seeking re-election. Who should we be watching on the Republican side?
Well, there are three main candidates on the Republican side now. The first is the incumbent Lieutenant Governor Brad Little. He's widely seen as an ally of Otter's, a member of the Republican establishment. Another is Representative Raul Labrador. Labrador is currently our representative in the 1st Congressional District. He's one of the leading members of the Freedom Caucus in the U.S. House and seen as a very conservative candidate. Tommy Alquist is a real estate developer and a doctor from Boise, and this is his first run for office, but he's built a large campaign fund and been a very active campaigner, so he's seen as a credible candidate as well. Well,
is there a sense of who the favorite is at this point?
Well, in Idaho, we don't have a whole lot of polling, so it's a little bit difficult to say. I've heard a lot of rumors about different internal polls that all show them pretty close. So it's difficult to say definitively. It should be a close race.
Well, what issues are most important to people in a state like Iowa that's conservative that will help them choose their nominee for governor?
Well, there have been a number of big issues that are going around right now. Healthcare is a perennial concern. Premiums have started rising rather quickly here, despite a pretty well-functioning healthcare exchange. So that's one major issue. Tax cuts are always a big issue here. Growth has been very fast in recent years, and so there's on the Republican side a strong desire to take that back into taxes, to get rid of it through tax cuts, basically.
Well, there is also a primary for governor on the Democratic side. What can you tell us about that race? And is it feasible that the nominee would have a real chance in the general election?
So there are two candidates who are pretty credible on the Democratic side. That's somewhat unusual in Idaho. Idaho is an overwhelmingly Republican state. A.J. Belukoff was the candidate the last time around. He's a longtime member of the Boise School Board, also very wealthy, self-funds a lot of his campaign. Paulette Jordan is a two-term state representative. She's a former member of the Coeur d'Alene Tribal Council. She's attracted some national attention because she, if elected, would be the first Democratic governor in the United States, I'm sorry, the first Native American governor in the United States. Whoever wins, it's pretty unlikely the Democrat has much of a shot. It's been a very long time since Idaho has had a Democratic governor, and the state, if anything, has tended to become more Republican in recent years.
Well, primaries for Idaho House seats will also be held next week. What is at stake in those races, considering that Republicans overwhelmingly control both houses of the state legislature?
Well, because Republicans have such a lock on the state legislature, there are very few Democrats in either house. There are 11 out of 70 in the House and 6 out of 35 in the Senate. Because of that, in many ways, the real tension in the Idaho State House is between the further right portion of the state house and the sort of mainstream Republican portion. Now, the further right section has gained both in numbers and in influence in recent years. The last session, they were able to get some pretty concrete policy concessions that they wouldn't have been able to get in previous years. So this year in particular, there are a large number of incumbents who are not seeking re-election, and there are quite a number of races that could be pretty close. So in a lot of ways, this race could define the future outlook of policymaking in Idaho, depending on which side is able to gain more ground.
All right, Bryan Clark with a view from Idaho for us. Bryan, thanks very much.